right now, what I see this happening, I see another 2 years of discussion. That's what I see.
Well,
Okay, can I make my statement now? Please?
I give everybody a turn. Everybody get a chance. Go ahead.
I think we're moving away from the issue of this whole discussion. I think we're looking at a fence ordinance. If the village needs to do research into controlling the deer population, if the village wants to do research into the long-term effect of deer on the woodlands, woodland degradation, invasives, herbicides and pesticides, runoff, changing of the water table, all of the things that cause the character of the woods to change. I think that that's fine, and that's something I would have no objection to. But in the meantime, I think we need to talk about this ordinance, because this ordinance is not going to say cull the deer or castrate the deer. I think we need to look at the ordinance and get the ordinance passed, and at that point, if the trustees choose to look into deer population management, that's an entirely separate topic. And I read all the responses that came in, and pretty much all of them said, well, we're putting a Band-Aid on this, we're looking at this, we need to look at deer population. But I believe that we need a fence ordinance.
I have a recommendation then. You want a recommendation? Here's a recommendation.
Of course I do.
Okay, my recommendation would be that we discuss an ordinance that has a sunset provision that allows all the deer fencing that currently exists in the village to remain as is. And no new deer fencing, period. And that has a sunset provision of a year. And during this year, we will address the underlying issues which led to people having to put up deer fences. And if we can resolve those, we'll come back to this fence issue a year from now when the fence ordinance expires, and we'll decide whether or not we're far enough down the road where we can either eliminate deer fences in entirety because we've controlled the deer population and they're no longer necessary, or we need to have another 6-month or year extension of the fence ordinance allowing for deer fencing. But I think that's a way of compromising, addressing the needs of those people that already have the deer fence up, but at the same time addressing what this board has clearly indicated is something they want to address, which is the underlying problem.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Mike, can you be more specific about what you're saying that we would allow to?
It would say that deer
Obviously, I
fencing,
understand that no new fences part, but what, and
It's
everything else just
status
status
quo.
quo.
status quo.
I'm fine with status quo because that's what we have right now anyway.
Right. Status quo, whatever deer fences are up right now, fine, they can't be expanded, they can't be, whatever. No new ones,
Right.
and we come back
No tinkering.
in a year, but in the meantime, we diligently try and figure out how do we address this problem.
Okay.
My recommendation.
First, we diligently decide.
No, wait. He's got his hand up first.
I have 2 comments. First of all, just a question, brief question. That is, when you say deer fence, you mean a fence exceeding 6 feet.
Right.
Okay, so a deer fence at 6 feet or under could go up. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Could go in?
I think.
6 feet or under.
6 feet or under is allowed by the code.
Yeah,
Anything that's allowed currently by the
Fine.
code.
they can put in.
I think that's a good suggestion. My difficulty with the process so far has been that there's been an absence of professional judgment been requested to apply to the problem. And the village has a fair amount of money in the coffer. I ask myself, why would we not avail ourselves of the opinion? Why do we think that's desirable not to ask experts? And I can't come up with an answer to that question, so I fully support what Mike said.
I'm fine with that, and I would very much like to hear from an expert who can talk to us about woodland health, and an expert who can talk with us about deer management. Those are the
How about an
two,
expert that can talk to us about deer preservation?
That's fine too.
Okay,
fine.
I would like both. I'm pure and honest about that, I'd like to hear both.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I think that's
I mean,
fine.
ideally, what I'd like to hear are, if there are experts with differing viewpoints on the same topic, fine by me. But I'm sure they're all more knowledgeable than I am, and I'd like to hear what the experts have to say.
Sure.
I'm fine with that.
Mr. Masterson? Mrs. Strada?
No problem with that. We've had
Oh,
them,
look at that, we got a consensus.
it's been a while since we've had them in. At one point, we brought people in from the University of Pennsylvania, Minnesota. I think their comments are probably on record in the village. But I'm all for new blood coming in and
We can
refreshing
repeat the
our
process, no problem.
information on it.
I would like,
Is the board thinking that,
I was just gonna give you a direction.
well, that I can take the ordinance from before and put these concepts into it while retaining some of the things that were kind of unrelated to deer fences, but for example, no solid fences in excess of 4 feet
Now, why
in
don't
the
you
front
just
yard?
stay with this?
I'm just
I would just
asking,
do a separate ordinance, which basically talks about
Just
not
this.
enforcing the deer fence ordinance against any, or not enforcing any violations.
Just want another
Fence
moratorium.
ordinance.
well,
Yeah.
you want to say no fence in
Or
excess.
just have the moratorium extended for a year.
But then we also have to put in there no new deer fences during that period.
Right,
Right, I think that's the approach.
right.
Don't convolute this like we did last time.
Yeah, make it simple, so we.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, I mean, you lawyers understand things that we don't.
Don't screw this one up.
Mr. Carr?
He said it.
Kiss principle.
Here's what bothers me about that, if you're gonna allow deer, fences, not deer fences, but fences.
Fences are being allowed
Now, wait a
today.
minute, to go around 4 acres of land,
Allowed to.
3 acres of land,
That's allowed.
It's allowed like right now.
It's always been allowed, Mike.
always been allowed.
that's the problem, they bring them right up to the road.
Well, and
They bring a
this,
4-acre fence right up to the road.
and I think that's.
So what people, if I've heard people here in the last year say, it's not right to have these fences go right up to the road for various reasons. But people who are not building 6-foot deer fences are building 4-foot fences around 3 acres right up to the gully and the road. That has to be addressed also.
They have been, that has not been a real problem. The real problem has been the deer fences, which are illegal, whereas the other fences are perfectly legal. Now, that's another issue that we can discuss in this discussion that we're gonna have in the future. But right now, it's the deer fences that we have to worry about.
I think when we address this, we can address the issue with respect to the deer and woodland health first, because I think that's what prompted this issue. But I do think that when we have an ordinance, we have to look at fences as a whole. And let's just fix everything all at one time. And have a
Absolutely.
nice ordinance that is gonna last us more than a few years.
Right.
Well, that's what Mr. Haber, Mr.
Dubar?
was trying to do, but
I understand.
it didn't work.
And there
But
were
right-
parts of
right
it
at
that
this
I
moment-
thought were great.
Right at this moment, his direction, which is unanimous with the board, is just to do a deer fence ordinance, keeping what we got now for the next year.
Well, to maintain the status quo.
Right,
Yeah.
okay? We'll have that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, it's so done.
Linda?
It's the done.
And they both want.
I would like recommendations again from the board as to who we would like to have here
Which experts?
for experts.
Okay.
If you want to do some research,
I'll do some
bring
research.
in your experts, don't bring them in, just
Bring your names.
your names
Don't sign
and
the contract.
credentials and whatever you want to do, and we'll talk about it.
Unless you want
Sign
to
them, we can
personally
pay for it.
obligate yourself,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. You wanted to say something?
Well, in terms of, if you